Rain slammed violently against the cracked pavement as Ava Johnson ran barefoot down the narrow alley, her breath breaking in sharp gasps. Behind her, the landlord's voice thundered through the building entrance. "Get out. I said you have nothing here anymore."
I told
A
you to
loud
pay the
crash
rent.
followed,
Now get
her
your
last
trash
box
off
of
my
belongings
property and
being
get
thrown
out of
out
here.
into the wet street. Ava stumbled, nearly slipping, her hands trembling as she reached for the soaked cardboard box that held everything she owned in the world. Her clothes, her documents, her broken life. "Please, just give me one more week," she begged, turning toward the landlord, her voice shaking under the storm. The man laughed bitterly. "You already owe 3 months. I'm not running a charity." The door slammed shut. Ava stood frozen as rain drenched her completely. Her lips trembled. Her stomach growled painfully. She had worked 2 jobs for months, but it still wasn't enough. Everything had collapsed at once. Her job hours were cut. Her roommate left without paying rent, and now she was homeless. She sank to her knees beside the street, clutching her soaked bag tightly. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered. A horn suddenly blared behind her. Bright headlights cut through the rain. A black Rolls Royce slowed down beside her. Ava quickly stood up, wiping her face. She tried to step away, thinking it was just another stranger passing by, but the car matched her pace. The back window rolled down. A deep male voice called out, "Get in." She froze. Ava stepped back immediately. "I don't know you." The car stopped completely. The door opened from inside. A man stepped out, tall, sharply dressed in a black suit, rain sliding off his shoulders like it didn't dare touch him. His presence was calm, but dangerous. "Your situation is worse than you think," he said calmly. Ava hugged her bag tighter. "Who are you?" He looked at her for a long moment. "Someone offering you a way out." She let out a bitter laugh. "There's no way out of this." "Yes," he replied. "There is." He opened the car door wider.
Get in, I'll explain.
I'll explain. Something in his voice didn't feel like a trap, but it also didn't feel safe. Ava hesitated, her survival instincts screaming at her to run. But the cold rain, the hunger, the eviction notice lying in her soaked bag, everything pushed her forward. Slowly, she stepped inside. The warmth of the car hit her instantly. She sat stiffly, dripping wet, while the man returned to his seat across from her. The car pulled away silently. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Then he finally said, "I need a wife." Ava blinked like she didn't hear him correctly. "What?" He pulled out a slim folder and placed it on the seat between them. "I don't do relationships. I don't have time for games. But my company requires a condition for inheritance approval. I need to be married." Ava stared at him like he had lost his mind. "You stopped your car in the rain to propose marriage to a stranger?" "It's not romantic," he said coldly. "It's business." She laughed nervously. "You're insane." He leaned forward slightly. "Ethan Carter, CEO of Carter Global Holdings." Her laughter died instantly. Everyone in New York knew that name. One of the youngest billionaires in America. Untouchable. Private. Ruthless. Ava's voice dropped. "Why me?" Ethan studied her carefully. "Because you have nothing to gain from me." That sentence hit harder than she expected. Ava looked away, swallowing her pride. "And what's in it for me?" "Money. Shelter. Security. A new identity, if needed." She shook her head. "That sounds like a trap." "It is a contract," he corrected. 1 year. After that, you walk away with enough money to never struggle again." Silence filled the car. Ava's hands trembled slightly. "And if I refuse?" Ethan didn't hesitate. "Then you go back outside." The words hit harder than anything else that night. She looked out the window, rain still pouring, city lights blurred through the glass. No home. No family. No options. Her voice cracked. "Why not choose someone rich? Someone from your world?" Ethan's jaw tightened slightly. "Because everyone in my world wants something from me." He looked directly at her. "You don't." That truth hurt more than it comforted. A long silence followed. Ava whispered, "I don't even know you." "That's the point." The car stopped in front of a tall glass building glowing in the night. Ethan handed her the folder. "Read it. Think carefully. I don't repeat offers." Before she could respond, his phone rang. His expression changed instantly, colder, sharper. He answered quietly. "I told you not to call unless it was urgent." A faint voice came through, but Ava couldn't hear clearly. Ethan's eyes shifted slightly toward her. "I understand. I'll handle it." He ended the call and turned back to her. "There's something you need to know before you decide." Ava felt her chest tighten. What now? His voice lowered. This isn't just a marriage arrangement. There are people who will not accept it. Ava frowned. What people? Ethan paused for a second too long. Dangerous ones. Before she could ask more, the driver opened the door. Rain and wind rushed in immediately. This is your stop, Ethan said. Ava hesitated. Wait. What are you not telling me? His eyes darkened slightly. If you agree, your life will change completely. If you refuse, forget this ever happened. She stepped out slowly, clutching the folder tightly. The car began to drive away. But just before it disappeared into the rain, Ethan's voice came through the window one last time. You have until tomorrow. Ava stood alone on the sidewalk, soaked, shaking, staring at the glowing building ahead of her. Then she opened the folder. Inside was a contract, and her name already printed on it. Her heart dropped. What have I just gotten into, she whispered. The next morning, she didn't sleep. She sat in a cheap motel room, staring at the contract for hours. Her phone buzzed with an eviction reminder she couldn't pay. Hunger twisted in her stomach again. By sunrise, her decision was made. She picked up her phone with shaking hands and called the number on the contract. It rang once, twice. Then, Ethan answered. I'm listening, he said calmly. Ava took a deep breath. I'll do it. A pause. Then his voice came, lower than before. Good. We meet today. She swallowed hard. This is really happening. And just as she ended the call, a loud knock hit her motel door. 3 sharp knocks. Slow. Deliberate. Ava froze. Because she wasn't expecting anyone. And through the thin door, a voice spoke. We know you said yes to him. Ava stepped back instantly, heart pounding violently. Outside, footsteps gathered. More than one person. And that was the moment she realized. This marriage was not just a deal. It was the beginning of something she could no longer escape. Ava's breath caught in her throat as she stepped back from the motel door, her heart pounding so loudly it drowned out everything else. The knock came again, harder this time. We know you're inside, Ava Johnson. The voice repeated, calm but sharp like a blade scraping glass. Her fingers trembled as she gripped the contract in her hand. How did they know her name? She hadn't told anyone about Ethan. Not a single soul. She slowly moved away from the door, eyes scanning the small room as if it could offer protection. There was no back exit. No escape. Just thin walls and fear pressing in from all sides. The doorknob suddenly rattled. Ava stepped back sharply. Please, she whispered under her breath, though she didn't even know who she was begging. God, fate, or whoever was outside that door. Then, just as suddenly as it began, silence fell. No knocking. No voices. Just heavy, unsettling quiet. Ava waited, frozen for a full minute before daring to breathe again. Then another minute passed. Nothing. Her shaking hand slowly reached for her phone. Without thinking, she dialed the only number that felt like it could explain anything right now. Ethan picked up almost immediately. I told you to meet me today, he said before she could speak. Her voice cracked. Someone is outside my room. They know my name. A pause. A long one. For the first time, Ethan didn't respond instantly. Don't open the door, he finally said, his tone lower now. Different. Controlled, but tense. Ava swallowed hard. Who are they? You don't need to know that yet. That's not an answer, she snapped, panic rising. People are outside my room talking about me like they've been looking for me. A sharp exhale came through the phone. Listen to me carefully, Ethan said. Whatever happens, you are not to leave that room until I arrive. Her voice dropped. Arrive? You're coming here. I'm already on my way. The call ended. Ava stood there stunned, phone still pressed to her ear even after the line went dead. Outside, the silence remained. Too quiet. Too intentional. Then suddenly, her phone buzzed again. A message. Unknown number. You belong to him now. That makes you part of the debt. Ava's stomach dropped instantly. Debt? What debt? Before she could process it, another knock came. But this time, it wasn't on her door. It was on the motel building entrance downstairs. Loud. Forceful. Followed by shouting. She rushed to the tiny window and peeked through the cracked blinds. 2 black SUVs had pulled up. Men in suits were stepping out, scanning the area like predators. Her heart slammed against her chest. No, 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 no. She backed away quickly, grabbing her bag with shaking hands. This wasn't random. This was targeted. And she had nowhere to run. Suddenly, headlights flashed outside again. Another car. Different from the SUVs. A black Rolls-Royce. Ava's breath caught. The door opened, and Ethan stepped out. Even from the second-floor window, she could feel the shift in energy. The men from the SUVs immediately noticed him. Their posture changed. Tension snapped into place like a pulled wire. One of them spoke, but Ava couldn't hear. Ethan didn't respond immediately. He simply walked forward, calm, composed, but there was something dangerous in the way he moved. Like he wasn't afraid of them at all, but they were afraid of him. Ava's phone rang again. "Ethan, stay where you are," he said instantly. "I'm watching you from the window," she replied quickly. A pause. "Good," he said. "Don't come out no matter what you see." "What is happening, Ethan?" Her voice was breaking now. "Why are these people here for me?" Another pause. Longer this time. Then his voice dropped. "Because you were never supposed to be involved in this." Before she could respond, the line went dead again. Ava looked outside. The confrontation had escalated. The men from the SUVs had formed a line. Ethan stood alone in front of them. One of them stepped forward holding a file. "She signed a contract," the man said loudly. "She is now part of the agreement." Ethan's expression didn't change. "That contract is invalid," he replied coldly. Ava froze. "Invalid?" The man laughed. "You think you can erase a debt that easily?" Ethan stepped forward slightly. "I don't think. I know." The air shifted. Even from upstairs, Ava could feel the tension tightening like a noose. The man holding the file raised it slightly. "She is not just a bride. She is the last piece of your family's mistake." Ava's legs weakened instantly. Family? Mistake? Her mind spun. Ethan's jaw tightened for the first time. "Say that again," he said quietly. The man smirked. "You brought her into this world thinking she was random. But she's not. She's linked to everything you tried to bury." Silence fell. Heavy. Then Ethan spoke again, voice colder than before. "Leave. Now." The man didn't move. Instead, he nodded slightly. And one of the SUVs opened. A man stepped out holding something that made Ava's breath stop completely. A photo. A faded one. And even from upstairs, she could see it. It was a younger version of someone she recognized. Her mother. Ava stumbled backward. "No, that's not possible." Her phone rang again instantly. "Ethan, do not come outside," he warned immediately. Her voice shook violently. "Why do they have my mother's picture?" Silence. Then Ethan said something she didn't expect. "Because your mother was supposed to disappear with that secret." Ava's entire world tilted. "What secret?" But Ethan didn't answer. Instead, she saw it happen outside. The men moved suddenly. Fast. Too fast. And Ethan reacted instantly, stepping forward like he had been waiting for this exact moment. Everything erupted at once. Shouting. Movement. Chaos. One of the SUV's doors slammed shut. The others surrounded Ethan. And for the first time, Ava saw fear in his eyes. Not for himself. For her. He looked up toward her window and mouthed one sentence. "Run." And that was when the first gunshot rang out. Ava screamed. Her body froze completely as the sound echoed through the street. Cars scattered. People ran. But Ethan didn't move back. He moved forward. Straight into the chaos. "Ava, get out of there now." His voice screamed through the phone she had dropped. But she couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Could only watch as everything she thought was a fake marriage turned into something far more dangerous than she ever imagined. And the worst part, they weren't after Ethan anymore. They were coming for her. And they already knew exactly where she was. The gunshot echoed again, this time closer, and Ava finally snapped out of her shock. Her entire body shook violently as she dropped to the floor beside the motel bed, covering her ears, her breath coming in short, broken bursts. Outside, chaos had swallowed the street. Sirens wailed in the distance. Shouting. Tires screeching. Glass breaking somewhere nearby. But one thing was louder than everything else. Ethan's voice through the phone. "Ava, listen to me," he barked. "You need to get out of that room now." Her hands trembled so badly, she nearly dropped the phone again. "I can't. There are people outside. There are guns. What is happening?" "Through the back window." "Now," he ordered sharply. Ava hesitated. "There is no back window," she cried. "Then make one," he snapped. That answer froze her. "Make one." Another loud crash came from downstairs. The motel manager screamed. More footsteps rushed through the hallway. They were inside the building now. Ava's breathing broke completely. "They're coming up," she whispered. Ethan's voice dropped instantly. "Ava, look at me. Listen carefully. I can't breathe." "Yes, you can," he cut in. "You have 60 seconds before they reach your door. If you stay, they take you. If you move now, you survive. A loud bang shook the hallway door. Ava screamed. The phone nearly slipped from her hand. Ava, Ethan's voice sharpened. Move. That broke her paralysis. She grabbed her bag, swung it over her shoulder, and ran to the small bathroom window. It was too small. Barely enough space for air, let alone a person. Another bang. The room door handle rattled violently. Ava Johnson, a man shouted outside. Open the door. Her hands shook as she picked up a metal chair. I'm sorry, she whispered to herself. Then she smashed the window. Glass shattered outward. Cold air rushed in. She didn't think. She climbed. Pain sliced through her arm as glass scratched her skin, but she pushed through, squeezing her body through the tight frame until she fell hard onto the ground outside. She landed in wet dirt behind the motel. And then she ran. Barefoot. Bleeding. Shaking. Behind her, she heard the room door finally burst open. Ava, someone shouted inside. But she didn't stop. She ran into the dark alley, heart pounding like it wanted to escape her chest. Then, headlights. Bright. Blinding. A black Rolls Royce screeched to a stop right in front of her. She froze. The back door opened instantly. Ethan stepped out. For a second, she just stood there staring at him, rain and sweat mixing on her face. You're late, she choked out. Without a word, he grabbed her arm and pulled her into the car. The door slammed shut. The car sped off immediately. Silence filled the inside for 3 seconds before Ava exploded. What is happening to me? Ethan didn't answer. She hit his arm. They had my mother's picture. They said I'm part of a debt. What debt? Ethan finally turned to her. And the look in his eyes made her stomach drop. Because he looked like a man who had been running from something for a very long time. They found you sooner than I expected, he said quietly. That is not an answer, she yelled. He exhaled slowly. Then said it. You are not random, Ava. Her entire body went still. What? Ethan leaned back slightly, rubbing his jaw. Your mother worked for my family years ago. She wasn't just an employee. She discovered something she was never supposed to see. Ava's hands clenched. Stop talking in riddles. Ethan's voice dropped. She disappeared because of it. Silence hit the car. Ava's throat went dry. No, she whispered. My mom left us. That's what I was told. Ethan shook his head slightly. She didn't leave. She was erased. Ava felt like the air left her lungs. The car sped through the city, but everything inside her felt frozen. Ethan continued, quieter now. And when they realized you existed, they started watching you too. Ava shook her head repeatedly. No, this is insane. I was just a waitress. I was homeless yesterday. That's exactly why I chose you, he said suddenly. She turned sharply. What? Ethan looked at her directly now. Because you were already inside their system without knowing it. Invisible. Unprotected. Easy to miss. Ava's voice cracked. So I was bait. No, he said firmly. You were a target I was trying to reach before they did. That made everything worse. Reach for what? Ethan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pulled out the same contract from before. But this time, he flipped it to the last page. Ava's eyes widened. There were names on it. Not just his. Not just hers. A list of signatures. Some crossed out. Some marked in red. And one name at the bottom made her stomach twist violently. Her mother's name. Ava's voice dropped to a whisper. What is this? Ethan closed the folder slowly. It's not a marriage contract, he said. It's a protection agreement. Ava stared at him. Her entire world collapsed into confusion. Protection from what? Ethan hesitated, then finally said, from the people who killed your mother. A long silence filled the car. Ava's hands shook uncontrollably. You're lying, she whispered. This can't be real. Ethan looked at her, voice steady but heavy. If I was lying, they wouldn't have just tried to take you tonight. The car slowed slightly as they approached a private gated compound. Massive gates opened automatically. Security guards lined both sides. Ava looked outside in shock. This is yours. Ethan nodded. The car stopped. But before she could process anything, Ethan grabbed her hand. And this time, his grip was different. Not cold. Not businesslike. Urgent. They know where you are now, he said. And this place won't stay safe for long. Ava's voice trembled. Then why bring me here? Ethan looked at her for a long moment. Then said the final thing that shattered everything she thought she understood. Because the only way to stop them is for you to remember what they made you forget. Ava froze. Remember what? But Ethan was already opening the door. And as she stepped out into the massive mansion lights, a new sound echoed from the distance. Sirens again, closer this time. And Ethan's voice came low, final, and serious. They're coming back. And this time, they're not coming for me. Ava's heart dropped. They're coming for you. The gates began to close. But in the distance, black cars were already approaching. Fast. Too many to stop. And Ava finally realized. This wasn't a marriage story. It was a war she never agreed to join. And she was standing right in the middle of it.